Carlsen's chess just went stratospheric. This was the recent Superbet Rapid and Blitz tournament, and Magnus did something unprecedented. More on that later. Let's first dive into the detail. With white here, opening with knight f3 is Vincent Keymer, the very strong young German player. Magnus responds in kind, and Vincent takes the centre. What does the world number one do? Magnus Carlsen, he plays pawn to b6, building a little home for his bishop. He's not interested in the centre. Vincent says thank you very much, takes it. This is blitz chess. They're over the board here. Low time. They're making instant decisions. And after Magnus fianchettos, we get g3, and Magnus decides to really get frisky. g6 played. He's going to fianchetto both of the bishops. They're crossing swords. It's frowned upon in lay society, but not on the chessboard. Both players now castle. They lean back. They stretch their fingers, finish the warm-ups. That's what super grandmasters do when they're playing blitz chess. You must have loose, supple fingers. Now we get d5. Vincent shutting the door on that light squared bishop. Magnus sidelines his knight. There's so many sayings for why you shouldn't put a knight on the edge of the board, but look where it's headed. And if you go b4, well, look before you leap. You've just opened this diagonal in a deadly way. So knight c3, the best move. Magnus hits the outpost. Still b4 not good. Moves like this coming. Tremendous pressure here. So queen c2 played, and now we get Magnus playing pawn to c ships. One of our favourite moves here on the Epic Chess channel. And if you're not yet subscribed, if you love this kind of wacky commentary where you maybe learn a thing or two, then do consider it. Become a grandmaster. Now we get takes on c6. Bishop recaptures, and we've got a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? Those bishops likely to leave the board one day. b3 from Vincent. Is he going to fianchetto the rook? Most likely not. d6 from Magnus. Sanity prevails. This bishop hits the long diagonal. Both players now developing in the same manner. We get rook c8 from Magnus. Always x-ray the enemy queen. Never a bad idea. Plus this is a half open file, and rook a d1. Anything you can do, I can do better, says Vincent. Magnus goes pawn a6, very natural, stopping any knight hops in future, and after knight d4, it's Vincent that blinks first. We see the bishops leave the board, king recaptures, and now queen c7 looking really natural here. But Magnus goes queen d7, and we're going to see his idea. We get queen d2, rook fd8, queen e3. Where's he headed? Vincent. That queen snaking across the board, and now when the check is landed, we see his point. He blocks the long diagonal with his queen, and of course, what does Magnus do? The endgame goat. He takes us into an endgame here. Half the audience are bleating away. The knight recaptures, and the scene is set for some endgame grind from the world number one. Can he get the job done? And before we dive in, we're taking a brief break here to say a big thank you to the sponsors of this video, Manscaped. As you can probably see here, have a listen to this. This is the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Guys, summer is nearly upon us, and if you want to get beach ready like Magnus Carlsen, then you need one of these. Sleek, stylish, 2 blade heads, easy pop on and off. It's even waterproof and has a lock button. Your kids pick it up, no worries, they're not going to shave their head off. And comes with this stylish travel bag. We're so often on the move. Treat yourself like a king today. Trusted by over 10 million men worldwide. Head into the description below, use the link and my code EPIC20. Get 20% off and free international shipping and a free gift with the ultimate package. Time to check and mate your crown jewels. Keep the queen happy. Get on over to Manscaped. And now back to the chess. So what does Magnus do here? He wants to activate his pieces. He jumps boldly forward with knight f to e4. Huge pressure on c3. And if you go rook c1, it starts getting a bit passive. d5 on the way in some lines. So instead, Vincent takes. He allows Magnus to chop off his dark squared sniper, but now he takes on c5. We get pawn recaptures, and anyone for a knight maneuver? Vincent starts bringing that one around here, and a5 from Magnus. Ideas of a4 soon. So Vincent now kicks away the bishop. Bishop c3 from Magnus, and Vincent is too preoccupied with this a4 idea. He should maneuver the knight into one of these light squares. He plays pawn a4, setting up the beloved camel toe pawn formation, but now Magnus, quick as a flash, chops off the knight. Why would he give his bishop for knight on an open-ish board like this, you know, nice long diagonal? Well, the position is closed. Knights do well in closed pawn structure positions, and this bishop was struggling for scope when all of its own pawns are on dark squares. So it's a good positional moves. And now Magnus can go after the b3 pawn. e4, the best way for Vincent to get counterplay. Threaten e5, if f6, support it with f4. But instead we see rook b2, and Vincent is going onto the back foot. Magnus stacks the two towers, Vincent covers the pawn, and now we see some expansion of the pawns. It's Prawnageddon here. Magnus pushing him down the board, d5 on the way. Why is he allowing Vincent to take? Well, this is the point. c4 is played, the most explosive pawn push in chess, and of course you can't capture or this rook is dropping. So that's why f6 played, f3 rather. Vincent setting up the old bathtub. Now we see king f7, always enter your king into an endgame, it's a deadly piece. Now we see this king centralizing, but Magnus takes with a discovered check. King c3 back, and Magnus gives another check here, drives the king back, and then activates this rook onto a new file, attacking another pawn. And if e4, you can capture, and this rook hits here. Then you're hitting here, it's not good, plus a4. So Vincent goes the right way, takes on b3. Now we see takes with check. Of course, the king can't advance. It's cut, so it comes to e3. These rooks now come off the board in just a moment. I'm premature, never ideal, affects many men who are analysing chess, but happens to the best of us. Now we've got one set of rooks left, and Magnus wants to advance the a pawn here, but his rook stands in the way. So he goes rook c3. The rook comes behind, and now rook c5. Magnus a pawn to the good, but work to be done. Tricky positions these. We get some expansion with the black pawns, but the white king centralized powerfully. Rook b5 played, king c4, rook back, and now why not go pawn here, keep harassing the rook, make it leave this file so you can take the pawn. Well, the problem is e2 collapses, and then h2, and possibly even this pawn here. Not good. So this one played. Necessary move. f4 from Magnus now, gaining space. g4 in response. h6, rook a6, good waiting from Vincent, and both players doing the same. How's Magnus gonna make progress? He starts landing some checks. Now this rook invades here. We get rook a2. Magnus has switched up the position. Hang on, didn't we say that's bad? Well, he wants to at least push the a pawn further down the board. Now this rook moving along the a file. Vincent keeps the black king cut. The pawn advances to a3, and now e3 from Vincent. Not the most accurate. Yes, it liquidates a pawn, but it leaves that white king very exposed. Now rook a1, king f2 played. Not the most precise moves, but the players low on time here. And Vincent at this point should keep Magnus's monarch cut out of the game. h4 apparently a good move, the ninja computer says. But check was played. And yes, you land some nice checks. Vincent going check out my melody, but he's just driving Magnus's king all the way to the queen side, and that pawn is gonna go through unless you give up the rook. But wait, Vincent first gobbling some queenside pawns there, kingside rather. He's a pawn goblin, gives this check. Now he takes here. You don't want to let it become a queen, and he advances his pawns. And how tricky is this? Imagine you're playing black. Magnus brings the king back, lets Vincent take a pawn, but he's desperately now scurrying back with his king to try and stop the pawn from running. Why doesn't it keep advancing? Well, if it does, the rook comes back and you actually get around to win that pawn just in time. So instead, the white king marches in. Magnus carries on. King f4, king e6 here. And because this king has to come in, try and promote this pawn, it allows Magnus to take on f3. He's bagged one to the good, but there's work to be done. Look how advanced Vincent's king is now. We get check. King g7. Now the rook comes back here. The king advancing, the pawn well on its way. So once again, Magnus checks. Are we going to see some repetition? Well, no. In steps the black king, pressuring the pawn. Of course it advances, but now nice waiting from Magnus. King g6 played, and this king is cut. It can only come to h8. Or you advance the g-pawn. Vincent advances the g-pawn. What if he'd stepped with the king? Well, now you can check, force it back, bring the rook around. We see similar in the game. This was played. Magnus plays a waiting move. Now this one comes this way. If it had come here, we would have seen a check, presumably. I believe that's checkmate. So it comes this way, check, rook h7, and resigns. Because if you carry on moving the king, well, the rook just gobbles the pawn. This is going to be game over. The world #1 knows his king and rook checkmate. This was then the final position, and what Magnus did that was so special is this. On screen right now, not only win the tournament, but storm back from well behind Wei Yi and basically adopt Super Grandmasters, winning 10 games in a row, just unprecedented. Carlsen's chess going nuclear right now, stratospheric. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see another incredible game from this same tournament, have a look at the video on screen. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.